Brandon Benefield, Gerard Bonner, and Diana Michelle.
What's going on, everybody? It's that time of the week. It's Friday. You know what that means. It's time for the SHW podcast. This is our wrestling. I'm B-Double Brandon Benefield, alongside my commentary partner, GB Gerard Bonner, and, of course, our lovely ring announcer, Diana Michelle. You guys, we are coming off a huge show this past Friday with SHW43, SHW Dishonor. But by the way it ended, I think we brought a little honor back to the building. But it's been a wild week so far since then. How have you guys been doing? What's going on?
Man, I'm ready to get this week over with. Thank God it's Friday.
Yeah.
I'm ready for a chill weekend. But yes, I feel like Southern Honor is back on the rise. We did have some very sad, low moments in the show, but towards the end, I'm feeling the momentum starting to build. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Next show's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's gonna be crazy. You never want to ever miss an anniversary show.
Right.
Which and all of the shows leading to the anniversary have been just really outstanding. And so yeah, this show here, which we're going to get into, was pretty big. But yeah, I'm doing good, getting ready for another very busy weekend. So yeah, but we're good. We're good.
Not only are we coming off the heels of that big show, but earlier this week, the PWI 500 list came out as well. So, GB, do you have your copy in front of you there?
I'm always prepared.
Of
course you are.
Know these
of course.
things.
And
Of
if he
course you
doesn't,
are.
he can just spit them out of his brain.
Now, I do have to say this because it's important when we talk about lists to understand criteria, because obviously, we, like anything else, we're used to what's happening like yesterday. And
Right.
so it's important to understand the list so we can kind of take our minds back in terms of the, timeframes and things. So first of all, the PWI 500, for those who don't know, is one of the most respected lists in all of pro wrestling, put together by the good folks at Pro Wrestling Illustrated. The evaluation period was from July the 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. So anything that's happened before or after does not count in this period of evaluation. In terms of criteria, they look at in-ring achievement, like win-loss records, championships, all of that jazz. They look at influence, and technical ability, and competition and activity. And the big thing about activity that's important is you need a minimum of 10 matches in the year or 6 matches in separate months. So that's really important. It's also important to note that a lot of tag teams were not involved in this. And there were some women who actually made the PWI 500, but that was strictly because they were involved in matches that were intergender matches and in promotions that allowed that. So your favorite women wrestlers won't be eligible until you see the PWI 150, which will drop in October. So it's important to understand that when you start asking about where's this one, where's that one, where is the other. And so the cool part about this list is obviously it looked at wrestlers from across the gamut of pro wrestling, pretty much every promotion you can imagine. And it's always great when we see some of the SHW folks in there. And so the list is pretty incredible. Ashton Starr, who we know spent quite a bit of time in SHW, came in this year at number 406 on the list, which is exciting. Carly Bravo, we have talked a lot about Carly Bravo on this show. We've got a unique connection to him regardless of Contra, and I don't like that particular move for his life, but it must have worked for him because he made his first appearance on the PWI 500 list this year at number 388. So shout out to Carly Bravo. Adam Priest, who we've seen in an SHW ring several times, comes in at number 371. If you remember Shug D, who participated in the first Rumble Jack, the first dance-off we've seen with Ashton Starr, oddly enough, he comes in this year at 355. I'm particularly proud of this one. Joe Black, the Black Cloud, who we have called kind of the conscious at one point of SHW, comes in at number 304, and it's been several years since he's been on this list, so very, very deserving for him to be there. The longest reigning SHW champion, and David Ali, makes his appearance on the list. Believe it or not, it's his first time on the PWI 500, and he comes in at number 280, which is impressive. And then the current reigning SHW champion, the leader of Contra, that would be Cruel, comes in at number 162, which is very, very high on the list. But of course, we've got to make a whole lot of noise. This guy right here has been the history maker all of 2022, and what a year he has had. We saw him in the action building Friday night. We'll talk about his match, I'm sure. But a big shout out to the current reigning and defending IWTV world champion, AC Mack, an SHW original, who comes in at number 25 on this list. Do you understand how significant that is? That means there's a whole lot of wrestlers that you've been seeing on television, in other spaces. You might be wearing their t-shirts, whatever, who are not ranked higher than AC Mack. I think it's interesting to note that AC Mack this week, or in the latest episode or edition of PWI, is ranked number 9 in the whole world.
Wow.
Right now. Yeah. AC Mack is that guy. And so it's a privilege when the world champion comes to see about us in SHW. And so shout out to all of the folks who made the PWI 500. And it's a major situation. And we keep telling you all the great things happening here in SHW. That's why, because we aren't just impacting Georgia, we are impacting the world.
Absolutely incredible, and a big props to AC Mack. And we talked to Mack a little earlier. We're going to hopefully get him on with us in the next couple of weeks to join us here on the SHW podcast, because of course we want to give him his props person to person and face to face, sort of virtually, whatever you want to call it, but have him on the show with us. So
that's right.
Well, let's get into talking about what happened at SHW43. And of course, as you mentioned, a handful of PWI top 500 list makers were on the card for SHW43. As a matter of fact, a lot of Contra, all of Contra competed in some form or fashion, and 3 members of Contra are on that list that you just talked about. So, but let's get into it here, and we'll just start from the beginning. Yeah. How about we have not heard from Gary Lamb in a couple of months, and last Friday we heard a lot from Gary Lamb, and we expected to hear a lot. We expected he would have a lot to say. He comes out to start the show and is interrupted by the least likely person we would have ever expected to come out during a Gary Lamb promo. Murder One returned. When we had the Rumble Jack last month, sometimes we have these surprises in the Rumble Jack, and Murder One was one of them. I figured that was kind of a one and done kind of deal. I didn't expect him to be back. Gary Lamb comes out to open the show. Murder One interrupts. It was insane.
He not only interrupts, but he comes out and offers his assistance.
The most shocking thing, the opposite of what we all expected.
Right. Now, he did say after this is done, he's got his own agenda, but he offered his assistance, and I was shocked. Standing in the corner watching these two stand face to face. I've heard stories. I've heard about the past and how butted heads and things happened. So I didn't know what to expect, but it was nice to see Murder come out, and we need some help right now. We do. We need some help, and I'll accept that for sure. I can't wait to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, they say politics make strange bedfellows. And I will tell you this, there are some strange people hanging out together these days. I would have never imagined in a million years that Murder One, first of all, would ever show up in the action building, let alone in an SHW ring, and then to confront Gary Lamb to say, I've got your back. He also, and what you said, Diane, is exactly right. He said, basically, yeah, you know what? I've got my own thing, but no, we need to take care of this first, which now makes me wonder, what is the real agenda for Murder One. I don't know what it is, but I do know, and this is just me, just me being me. Part of me wonders, how some folks will save people just so that they can be the one to put the knife in the back.
Right.
I'm watching this one very carefully because this shows the level of desperation that Gary Lamb and SHW is in right now, that we will accept help from Murder One. Now, this is not a knock to Murder One. I don't want him coming after me. I'm just saying, based on the stories, the history, the things that have been said, what makes one bury the hatchet so willingly to...
It's leaving the handle sticking out. What are you talking about? That's what I see.
But this is going to be very interesting. I was dumbfounded Friday night. I'm dumbfounded now. And we'll get to how this thing, is going to manifest itself. But needless to say, a very intriguing start to SHW43.
Well, what's the old saying? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So
yeah.
If you'll recall, at the Rumblejack, when Murder One and Joe Black came face to face, we wondered, oh wait, now Joe's part of Contra, but he's also got a long history with the hierarchy with Murder One, and then you even said it on commentary, oh, Joe chose Contra, eliminated Murder One. So that's what I'm wondering there is like, so now he's got heat and beef with Joe Black, and he's like, all right, I'll side with Gary here and in the battle, the war against Contra. I don't know, man. It's all very intriguing, all very strange.
Yes.
But it just speaks to SHW, how it's been for 4 years. You just never know what's going to happen. You never know what to expect.
Never know.
Anyways, our first matchup of the evening was Adam Jacobs making his first singles match, or having his first singles match in 5 years, taking on Chip Day, who, of course, we've seen a whole different side of over the last few months, ever since splitting ways with his former tag team partner, Kyle Matthews. So I will tell you what, Adam Jacobs, if anybody was wondering if there was a lot of ring rust going into this match, you had me fooled, because he didn't look like he had lost a step at all. In fact, had a great match. He unfortunately did not come away with the victory, but I think he pushed Chip to his limits a little bit. Now, I don't know if Chip was ready for that.
I've mentioned before that I kind of dig this side of Chip. I like seeing him edgy and smart mouth, just not quite ruthless, but yeah, he could be. But yeah, I like this Chip. I don't know if that makes me a bad person or what, because he's just trying to throw down. But
Diana likes them bad boys. That's what I'm hearing.
The bad boys.
I mean, I like the attitude. I kind of do, but I don't know how. I mentioned before as well, I don't know a whole lot about Adam Jacobs. I'm going to have to go back and do some research on his time before he left professional wrestling. But wow, if he did have any ring rust ever, I mean, he shook that mess off quick. Did you see that flying crossbody from the top?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
I mean, it was amazing. That was a great match. And I would go so far as he might be in running for technical wrestler if he keeps that up. I mean,
agree.
he gave Chip a run for his money. That was just saying.
I got you. Absolutely. It makes me think that maybe his theme music should be Shake It Off from Taylor Swift, because he shook off all of his ring rust and everything else you can imagine. And he looked like he never left the business.
Right.
I mean, here's a guy.
Great shape.
Absolutely. Multiple championships. And as I mentioned on commentary, he's a guy who actually has an interesting tie to SHW, as he held tag team titles, 3 different tag team championships with one Corey Hollis. So very interesting history there involving Adam Jacobs. And to me, he fits the profile of SHW perfectly. An amazing wrestler, gets it done in the ring, great charisma, and he really picked a tough opponent to have his first match back with. What a great way to test your skills. And I think he's got what it takes. Chip Day walks away with the win and then tried some chicanery to see to it that Adam Jacobs would not walk from the ring. And thankfully, someone came to save him.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
we almost saw a repeat of what took Kyle Matthews out of action for a couple months, which was the brain buster on the stage from Chip Day. And he tried to do that to Adam Jacobs. And like you said, luckily Kyle Matthews came out, made the save, ran off Chip through the crowd. And while he was out there, we thought this match was going to come later in the evening. And even AC Max said it on the microphone. Oh, you thought you were going to be the main event here. No, we're going to do this right now. And I got to say, and I think I mentioned it the other night on commentary, I kind of missed the old AC Mac intros. And so we got a classic AC Mac intro, and the crowd was being maybe a little bit rude.
They were being very rude.
Maybe very rude. Yeah. Tell him to eat a salad. Are you kidding me? Come on.
I mean,
221 a muscle.
Let me say this. I got in trouble the last time I said anything about, things in Canton. So this isn't directed to Canton. This is directed toward the SHW faithful. Don't you know that body shaming is not acceptable? And don't you understand that he is the number 25 wrestler in the whole world for the last year? He's the top 10 wrestler in the whole world right now. He's been carrying 10 pounds of gold, which naturally, when you carry 10 pounds of gold and all the independent wrestling on your back, it's a little more weight than you may have had the last time he was here. So it's not a salad that he needs. He's taking SHW to the world. You should applaud AC Mac. He's the Mac of all trades. He is your international and independent wrestling world champion. How dare you turn around and listen, him eating a salad isn't going to stop him from carrying the weight of the business on his back. So matter of fact, no, don't just appreciate him. Put your ones in the air and acknowledge him.
That's right.
Acknowledge him.
Carry
on.
I agree.
Agreed.
Don't mess with the world champion. Y'all kidding me?
That's right.
Anyways, I agree.
Hush.
Very rude. Yeah.
Hush. Now then.
Well, I will say, he's had, off the top of your head, do you know how many title defenses he's had?
I don't know. I feel like it's at least 10.
At least,
I'll find the number. 2 definitely in our building alone.
Right. And so the very first one, of course, was in our building against David Ali, which we'll get to that later. But I will say he's had some great title defenses, and this one was no different against Kyle Matthews, 8-time former technical wrestler of the year. So much so that the award is now named after him, the Kyle Matthews Technical Wrestler of the Year award. Put AC Mac to the test, and man, what a great matchup. And here's the thing. I said this on the pre-show. I said this leading up to the show, and I said this on commentary during the match. It was one of those where I was kind of pulled both ways here, because Kyle Matthews, in his 20th year currently in this business, has done so much in the Southeast, in the state of Georgia. Again, 8-time technical wrestler of the year, deserves to hold a title as prestigious as the IWTV World Championship. He deserved that shot. And I was, there's a part of me that really wanted him to get that victory and to hold that title. But at the same time, AC Mac being on such a historic run and a historic title reign that he's on right now, I would have hated to see that come to an end at the same time, right? And now on top of that, now this week being announced as number 25 on the PWI top 500, it turned out where Mac ended up retaining the title. However, a little bit of tomfoolery took place, and I will tell you this: I don't think that Mac had a hand in what happened, but I could be wrong. He tweaked his knee, came out of the ring. Referee checking on him. Both of their backs are turned. They're facing us at the commentary booth. Meanwhile, back from the crowd, the same crowd that Chip Day escaped through when Kyle came after him earlier, comes back through the crowd, jumps in the ring, boom, hits the brainbuster on Kyle Matthews. Then Mac turns around, sees the guys down, hits him with the Mac 10. Might as well take advantage. gets the victory.
I mean, I would
So
have.
I can't necessarily fault AC Mack for doing what he had to do to retain the title.
I mean, honestly, he yeah, it was a struggle. It was like that could have gone either way.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have. Kyle could have. I mean, there was so many close calls with the pin count. Yeah. So yeah, I don't blame him at all for jumping back in there. But this is one of those matches that you love them both. You want them both to come away with a win. You want them both to succeed and whatever. But you just kind of have to sit back and you don't have to cheer for anyone. Just watch it unfold and watch the magic happen. And that's what we got.
Yeah. Yeah. It was absolutely special. And you know me, I'm going to get our information. So I was wrong. This was not his 10th title. This match was his 20th defense of the IWTV World Championship.
Well, you
2-0.
You said at least 10.
So, I did say at least. So it was double what I said.
Yeah.
And so he has now moved into some really high space. He is the number 11th champion for the IWTV World title. And he now has the second most title defenses of any champion in the history of the IWTV World Championship. He is significant. He is very, very special. So we are literally witnessing history in front of our eyes. And he's not fighting slouches. He is fighting really tough matches. Again, his first defense against David Ali, his last defense against Kyle Matthews. Great wrestlers, obviously, that we're very aware of. So I really think we've got to be able to honor and respect the greatness we are seeing in front of us. I think what happens, and take this for what it's worth, when you witness greatness regularly, sometimes you can minimize it. Sometimes you can become overfamiliar with it and you lose the awe and wonder of it. So certainly those who had the privilege of watching Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes in the 80s live and in person didn't really understand what they were seeing, especially here in the Atlanta area. You just go to the Omni, you go to one of these places and boom, you can see it. And it's not until it goes away sometimes that we realize, wow, greatness has been in our presence. We've had a world champion defend his title twice in our building, okay? And he's an SHW original. I think we need to roll out the red carpet the next time we see AC Mack. 20 title defenses and counting. And he's done that in less than a calendar year. This is the epitome of a fighting champion. And we are witnessing history in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
I was going to say, flowers at his feet.
Yeah, what a year. Because he won the title, when was it? January, right?
January.
So all of this since January of 2022.
He's been busy.
And the year's not even the year's not done yet. So just an amazing year for AC Mack, man.
Yeah.
What a match, man.
Yeah.
And give it up to Kyle Matthews.
Great
Again,
match.
I hated to see Chip Day interfere, come back out, do what he did.
But you knew it.
And then after the match was over, Chip peeking up. He was hiding on the floor there, and he's kind of peeking up, waiting for Mac and the referee to leave the ring. Gets in there, and I got a little worried because he brought a chair with him, and Kyle's already laying there, not basically out, and he ends up propping the chair up over him and sitting on top of him, calling him out, challenging him, saying that he's the best technical wrestler in the state of Georgia, and it's still here coming up October 7th. He wants to have a best 2 out of 3 falls match against Kyle Matthews.
Wow.
And I think that's going to happen. I haven't heard officially yet, but I'm just, what a match that's going to be. I think we've all been waiting for this ever since Chip turned on Kyle and, technical excellence broke up. I think we've all been waiting for this one-on-one match to finally take place. And if this actually goes through and it does happen, it's not just a regular match. It's a 2 out of 3 falls match. That's going to be incredible. So I'm hoping that officially happens. We'll see. And hopefully Kyle can finally get a measure of revenge after all this nonsense, all this abuse from Chip Day. So moving on to match number 3 on the card. This was our huge tag team championship match where 2 tag titles were on the line. You had the Southern Honor champs, All-Star Special, taking on the Southern Fried tag team champs, Happy Madness. Both sets of titles on the line in a bunkhouse brawl. And just like the name says, bunkhouse brawl, it was an absolute brawl. It was insane. You know, we had one of these type of matches before. And that match also included Sunny Days at the time. And he was back in this one as well. And what an absolute wild match it was. And sadly, if you're a Southern Honor fan, it did not go our way. Not only did our guys lose the Southern Honor titles, but then, oh, and I forgot to mention earlier, Brooklyn was not actually in the building the other night. However, she was, wherever she was keeping tabs throughout the show. You know, the other members of Contra were there, so I'm sure somebody was keeping her up to date on what was going on. And Diana, I'm so sorry that you had the unfortunate responsibility of Brooklyn calling you after the match. And
I didn't even know she had my number.
Well, yeah. And not only did she call you after the match, after All-Star Special loss, but she had you put her on speakerphone and announce to the crowd that, hey, All-Star Special, when you asked for this to be winner take all, that also apparently included their jobs. And the lowest level that you could stoop to fire somebody over the phone. I mean, this is like what, Eric Bischoff and Steve Austin back in the day, just, you know, not even face to face, just gonna do it over the phone. And next thing we know, I guess
she could have sent me an email or something for me to read. Thank God she didn't. I would have had to, that should be the one to voice that.
Well, yeah. So we were all pretty disgusted. I mean, we're still disgusted. I'm not, I still don't really know. Yeah, I still don't know what to think about it. I think SHW fans, let your voice be heard. Contact your general manager. See what can happen here. See what he can do. I mean, we saw Owen Knight get fired, and that lasted less than one evening.
And he came back in, right? He came back in, snuck back in, did his thing. But this was different.
Yeah.
This wasn't something where they just could come back and, you know, demand that they have a position somewhere. It was like they were fired. They're gone. And talking to them after the show and talking to them throughout the week, it's a real deal. And a lot of people,
if you haven't seen it, Hanson put together just a little slideshow video.
My heart out.
So just beware if you look it up, grab your tissues.
It was real. That's the saddest thing I've seen. That is the saddest thing I've seen for SHW. It's not a good day. It's not a good day.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of words. I mean, I just, to be fired over the phone. And it's one thing to lose the tag titles, right? But I didn't know that losing the tag titles all of a sudden qualifies you to lose your job. I didn't know losing a match qualifies you to lose your job. It's very clear that the playing field is not level here. And I'm not really sure what the booker is thinking. I know she is power hungry. You know, obviously she feels like she can fire people whenever. But, you know, there's a thing that another great leader once said, and that's because this leader believes in doing what's best for business. And, you know, Booker, I know that, you know, you got Contra and you've got, you know, whatever you've got. But what's best for business? This is the tag team that has defined SHW for the last 2 years. These are the guys, you know, I hear on social media, our general manager, he's probably going to ring me up for mentioning him so much in the show, but he mentions all the time the thing he loves the most about Southern Honor and about doing events is creating community. Who better creates community every month than All-Star Special? We have the whole crowd singing every single month and dancing. Our feel-good moments come because of All-Star Special, a team that organically began here that began impacting all of Georgia and independent wrestling.
Right.
I'm concerned because I want to know, and I know general manager has his plate full. We're trying to figure out what's going on with SHW. Well, it's time to be like another person that's in power and start righting the wrongs. And this is a wrong that needs to be righted. And maybe, I don't know what you got to do. I don't know what strings you got to pull, but now's the time to pull on your half of the company and say, hey, I'm going to right this wrong. Losing the tag, they held the tag titles with great honor.
Yeah.
It's what you want for tag team champions. They showed up when they were advertised. They did all of the things that you asked them to do.
They showed up injured.
They showed up injured. These guys, and again, they're the merch killers.
Thank you.
So I mean, they're getting big cheers. They're making tons of money for your company. Why would you let a decision like this stand? I really believe that it is time for people to let their voice be heard. In fact, I'll go so far as to say this. One of the shocking moments in the history of SHW was watching Hanson hack his way onto this podcast and campaign himself into SHW. Maybe it's time that we campaign him back into SHW. If he was willing to do that to get in front of us, maybe we need to show our appreciation and get not just Hanson, but Huck. How do you have an SHW without William Huckabee?
Right.
So needless to say, let's do the right thing. Let's get them back.
You know, I randomly name dropped Eric Bischoff a few minutes ago, which just randomly came to my head. I wasn't planning on saying that, but then I was also just now thinking of another instance that involved Eric Bischoff. This might have been sometime in the late 90s, a famous promo where Ric Flair's in the ring shouting, abuse of power, abuse of power. And that's all I kept thinking the other night when Brooklyn calls up on the phone and fires these guys. And I'm like, wait, what? Can you even do this? Like what's happening? Anyways, it did happen, and we'll see what happens next. I don't know, but hopefully we can rectify this situation sooner rather than later. But
absolutely.
Well, before this next matchup, we saw a promo video, and actually we saw a little teaser of this video on the pre-show last week, which was also the same teaser we had seen at the Rumble Jack, and we weren't really sure what to make of it. You know, we see these little the Chuck Taylors, the Converse sneakers, and it says coming soon, and we don't really know what to make of it. Well, we see a little more of that video at last week's show, and it turns out the Show Yang is coming.
Oh, Yang.
Jazzy Yang with a new look, a new attitude, and it says she'll be debuting October 7th at the anniversary show. That's all we know. I don't know who she's debuting against. Or who will be with her, perhaps. I don't know. But the last time we saw her was at the Rumble Jack. The time before that, the last time we'd seen her was the previous year's Rumble Jack. So apparently she's back, and now she is Show Yang. So anyways,
I'm
looking forward to that.
I mean, I love Show North. I love all that whole vibe. Who's the master? I love that. I'm all for it. Let's do it.
It looks fun, man. I'm looking forward to it. So we saw that video, and then, of course, that took us into our next matchup, and this was two big old bulls, two big behemoths locking horns here. We had the Priest of Punishment, Judas, and, of course, SHW newcomer Rayhan Mateus. And, you know, Judas had put it out there to management that he wanted to take on anybody and everybody. He claims that he's the new gatekeeper, if you will, of SHW, the new big monster. If you want to come to SHW, you got to go through him. And he put basically the message out there to any big man that wanted to step up. Well, Rayhan decided to step up, threw his name in the hat. And I will tell you what, he's a big old boy too, and there's not a whole lot of guys that can go eyeball to eyeball. And the couple of the ones that have taken a spike to the eyeball over the last few months, those being Cyrus and, of course, Austin Towers. So, but Rayhan put up a pretty good fight. It wasn't quite enough, but again, I don't know that Judas was prepared for quite a fight. He still kind of got it done in a pretty short amount of time, but I don't know. What'd you think of Rayhan's debut, though? I still thought he did a good job for his first time.
I saw that he was a big guy before the show. I saw that, okay? But I didn't realize how big until he got in the ring with Judas. Judas is a big guy. I mean, you don't just walk up to him. You kind of
SGB. He knows.
Yeah, but in that perspective, he's usually scary. You know, you don't know what to do around him. He was different. I mean, yeah, he was still scary. Like, I don't know if it was sadistic or what, but he smiled a lot. And it weirded me out. He came out and he has this beard all pointed out, and he's grinning on the stage when he's usually just stone faced. Gets in the ring and he's grinning, tries to hand me that spike, and it's almost like a playful thing. And I'm like, what's going on?
It makes me wonder, is he grinning?
Weird.
Is it a confidence thing that he knows that there's no other big man? He's the best big man. He's taken out all the other big guys in the company for the most part. And so maybe, I don't know, maybe that's just this cocky
I'm just saying,
grin. I don't know.
A killer that grins at you is a lot more scary to me than somebody who's just gonna come at you and try to rip your throat out. But so it freaked me out. I don't know what to think about that, because it was just like a playful little uneasiness.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did he come to you guys this time?
I intentionally did not look at the man. I literally looked everywhere but in his eyes, because I did not want to be revisited by him. He was in a mood, and no. With that said, props to Rayhan Antaeus, who did something I haven't seen very many people do. He actually took it to Judas. He did not back down from him. He really was aggressive in moving towards him. And he did some really high-powered moves against Judas, got him off of his feet, did quite a bit, which is something we don't normally see against Judas. But Judas is in a whole nother place, and I don't want to mess with him. But he might have an even greater attitude after the video that played at the end of that match.
Absolutely. Now, this match for October 7th, it's still here for, has already been made official. We saw the video the other night. We've seen the official announcement earlier this week. I think it actually posted yesterday, as a matter of fact. And so it's going to be Cyrus returning after all these months, after taking that spike to the eye. And it looked to me like in that video, there was no eye patch or anything. So it looks like, I guess his eye's back to 100% here. And a last man standing match. Are you kidding me? I can't picture anybody keeping these guys down for a 10 count.
Right.
So we might be there all night on October 7th. I don't know if that match is ever going to end.
Pack a lunch, man. I'm there for the long haul.
Pack a breakfast, pack a lunch, pack a dinner, pack breakfast for the next morning. I mean, who knows how long it's going to take? All I know is that I don't know which one of those guys is going to win, but the crowd's going to win. We're going to win, because we've all been chomping at the bit to finally see these two guys go in an official match. The one time we almost got it, the match never even officially started. All the brawling took place outside of the ring, and then, of course, the spike to the eyeball ended all that mess. So, man, we're going to finally get that match. Cyrus and Judas.
Yeah.
Whew.
That one's going to be crazy. And you're right. You know, we might be there till Still Here 5. Because I don't know what it's going to take to keep those guys down. And I don't know what they're going to have to do to each other to keep each other down for a 10 count. I don't know. So it is really, it's going to be something special to see. And sign me up. Obviously, I'll be there October 7th. And
I kind of feel like it's going to be one of those deals where you have to just pile tables and chairs and
from where? I don't know. Like
on top, I don't know. I mean, who knows?
I feel like there was and I don't know what year this would have been. Probably either late 90s, maybe early 2000s. And I'm pretty sure Big Show was already in WWE at the time. He was the Big Show, and he was in a last man standing match. I can't remember who he was against, but they used like a forklift Like he was down on the ground and they
And
like lowered the forklift like on top of him to where he literally couldn't get up. Maybe
that was kind of the vibe I was getting with the Lesnar Roman Reigns last night's match.
Yeah.
Put the truck on him, but
who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Anyways, well, that's next month. We still got a couple more matches here from this month. Our next matchup, we mentioned one of these guys earlier being in the PWI top 500 list. I believe he was number 388, that being Bad News and Tattoos, Carly Bravo, one of our day ones. However, like GB said earlier, we're a little bit kind of not feeling the whole joining Contra thing. But that aside, he still has had an amazing 2 years in this business. And it's hard to believe it's only been 2 years going into the third year. But he took on former SHW champ and one of our other day ones, Owen Knight in SHW original. And what an incredible match this was. And here's a guy, Carly Bravo, ever since, I'll say, turning to the dark side, has gone out of his way to screw over Owen Knight multiple times over the last few months, screwing him out of the victories during his matches. And finally, Owen Knight gets a little bit of a comeuppance here on Carly Bravo. And man, what a match this was.
Phenomenal match. Absolutely phenomenal match. One that I was ready to see. One that was it needed to happen. It needed to happen 2 months ago. But we got it when we got it, and we got what he wanted, needed, and Carly, member of Contra, walked away with an L for Contra. That is a big deal. That's a big deal.
A very big deal.
Well, look at what happened on stage as he was leaving the ring, GB.
Right.
Yeah.
And I wonder, had Brooklyn been there, you know how she is. You know how she likes to scold. Would she have had some words for him or?
Well, here's the thing. What's interesting is she may have scolded him publicly in front of everyone, but it's one of those things like you think about your parents. What's worse, like getting yelled at by your mom or that disappointed look from your dad? And so when he got up on stage,
in my book, you hadn't met my parents.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, GB, remember when he walked up on stage to leave?
Yeah.
He kind of got that from Joe Black in Cruel when they were on their way out for their match. Wasn't that kind of, that was kind of a odd interaction.
That was a very odd interaction. And, I'm just sitting here thinking, well, I mean, if losing is the criteria to lose your job, why wasn't there another phone call for Carly Bravo?
That's a good point.
Not that I'm suggesting that Carly should lose his job, but I wasn't suggesting that All Star Special should lose their jobs either.
For tat, right?
I mean, if it is a level playing field, and at that point that was the L that Contra had experienced, but it didn't happen that way. But definitely a strange vibe between Carly and Joe Black and Cruel, and I'm not sure if we've heard the last of that, if they'll just let it be water under the bridge. Maybe the fact that the three of them are now on the PWI 500, maybe that's enough to smooth things over, and maybe they can all catch. I don't know what Contra members eat. Like, I don't know how they celebrate things. I don't know. I've never been invited to the party, but maybe that accomplishment is enough to forget the loss that happened to against Owen Knight. I don't know how that works, but yeah, interesting times. Big win for Owen Knight. And I'll just say this. I'd love to see this match again. I think these two have incredible chemistry, and I think this could be the next great rivalry coming out of the state.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
Well, you had Joe Black, Cruel kind of meeting Carly there on the stage. They were making their way out for their match. They were in the main event tag team matchup. You had Contra taking on the unlikely tag team of the Bloodbath Behemoth Tank and the People's Captain Gunnar Miller. And these guys, this was not going to be a technical masterpiece by any means. This was just going to be an all-out brawl, and that's exactly how it started out, and that's exactly what was happening until all hell just broke loose, and the rest of Contra came back out. Well, minus Carly Bravo, who was conspicuous by his absence. We weren't sure where he was, but then you had Owen Knight make his way back out. Then you had Murder One make his way out, and it just turned into an all-out brawl. Gary Lamb, of course, makes his way back down to the ring, microphone in hand. We knew he was going to have something to say because earlier in the night he said, he had a plan he was working on, and we'll hear from him later. And we weren't quite sure what to make of it. Then he starts kind of looking out, and he pointed out to Contra that, hey, you're missing a guy.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, he goes, by the way,
he said all the other stuff.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to go into exactly what he said. It was, anyways, I told him.
Not suitable for work.
Let me just tell you this. So I actually ran into him at Waffle House after the show. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And
wow.
While we were there, I just said, hey, kind of funny how you start out in your opening promo quoting scripture. And then at the end of the show, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Anyways, Gary's gonna Gary, right? So
he's going to Gary. Mm-hmm.
It just made me laugh. But anyways, he goes, he had announced that we're gonna have a War Chamber match coming up at Still Here 4, right? And that's not unusual for the Still Here shows. We've had a couple of those in the past. We're gonna have 2 rings surrounded by 1 giant cage. It's gonna be insane. It's gonna be Team SHW versus Team Contra. But he pointed out to Contra that, hey, you seem to be missing a member. He was referring to Carly Bravo. And he said, oh, and also, by the way, here's our 5th member. And he points to the screen. Well, it looks like Carly's laid out in the back parking lot of the Action Building. And the next thing you know, all you see is a pair of boots. The crowd starts to kind of rumble. Then you see the bat hit the ground. The crowd starts figuring out, oh my God, could it be?
They freaking lose their minds.
Camera pans up. One of the loudest pops we've heard in quite a while, maybe of all time. They realize it's David Ali. The Savior has returned. He's joining Team SHW to take on Team Contra at the anniversary show Still Here 4 in the War Chamber match. What a moment. You talked about moments earlier, GB. What a moment
was awesome.
That was.
That was amazing. The pop. Oh my God. It was like, I mean, seriously, the house exploded. Exploded. I wish I could have recorded it somehow. I mean, I'm sure we have it on IWTV coming out, but I wish I could have recorded that and just was able to just send it out to it brought tears to my eyes, and you already knew that. It brought tears.
Yeah, it was a moment. It was an absolute moment. And I think, whenever we do another recap of our top moments, be that of the year or whatever,
there you go.
This is guaranteed to be on there. I don't know what slot it's going to have, but I do know it's going to be on there because it was one of the loudest sounds I had heard in that building ever. It was just
the Hallelujah chorus started up.
Man,
it was like he could have been standing right on the stage.
I just love it was like a triple pop because like the crowd slowly figured out. It was like, you see the boots. Wait, is that who? No,
all it took was that bat to hit the ground.
Big red. Yeah, Big Red is like, wait, no way. Then boom, pans up. You see his face. What? Oh,
yeah. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Well, I tell you what, Still Here 4 is already shaping up to be quite cool. We only know of a couple of matches. Of course, the War Chamber match has been made official. The Cyrus Judas match has been made official. This challenge that Chip Day made to Kyle Matthews, I feel like that's got to happen, right? I mean, what was it? 2 out of 3 falls match.
Yeah.
Then you got the debut of Shou Yang. We don't know who her opponent's going to be, but that's going to be fun. And I'm telling you, more to be announced as it gets closer. But what a night that's going to be, and what a night last Friday was. And fans, you just got to get out to a show.
And it's creeping up. It's creeping up on us. It's 3 weeks away.
That's right. October 7th. And if you have not yet been there live to an SHW show,
what's wrong with you?
You're doing yourself a disservice. You got to be there live. It's one thing to watch us on IWTV, and I'm glad that you guys do. By all means, continue to watch us on IWTV. But if you're anywhere near the Action Building, if you're anywhere in the state of Georgia, make the drive and just get there. We say one of the new taglines I started putting on some of the social medias, SHW, an experience like no other, because it really is, so you just got to be there, folks. Got to be there. It's going to be fun.
Yeah,
but
I'll go so far as to say, even if you're not in the state of Georgia, it's worth a flight. It's worth a flight.
It really
trip. Make the trip.
It is. It is worth the flight.
There's so much to do in the area afterwards anyway. So
there is.
Yeah, you go to Waffle House with me.
Come hang, yeah.
There you go. There you go.
You never
I
know who
wish
you're
I'd
gonna
have
run
known
into.
you were going because
I didn't know he was
starving and
going
we got
either. I'd
out
have gone.
early.
Yeah.
Hey, I gotta shout out our boy Kyle who works production for us because we were in the parking lot. You went to leave, and then he goes, "Hey man, you want to go to Waffle House?" And I went, "As a matter of fact, that sounds phenomenal."
Yeah, you could have called me. I'd have
I'm sorry.
I mean, I definitely
very last minute, very last minute. But hey, next time.
I turned around. I was starving. I don't even remember what I had on the way home.
That should be the new thing then. After every show, meet us at Waffle
As long
House.
as we don't get out at like 12, because I had that long drive. But if this is one of those early deals, then let's go eat.
I will say, apparently there's a high school football game that just let out because it was full of high school kids. But
oh boy,
hey, it's all good.
We got to see Friday night. Yeah,
sure.
I got my vanilla Coke. I was good.
There you go.
They have vanilla Coke.
Oh, they have the best vanilla Coke at Waffle House.
Really?
Yes. Before they actually started serving it in bottles, like Coke started
serving it? They make it themselves?
Oh, yeah. That's where I first got it, was Waffle House years ago. I
had no idea.
Anyways, the end of the show has taken a wild turn that I did not expect.
Well, honestly, I'm hungry.
I am too, actually.
Oh, now that you mentioned it, hey, after we get off of here, let's just meet up and go to Waffle House. We should have recorded this in person together, and then we can do it. We'll do it live from Waffle House for the next episode. There's sponsorship opportunity here, folks. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, absolutely. We got to keep that Waffle House going.
There you go. Anywho, let's wrap things up here. Next week we will be back, same time, same place. So make sure you check us out. And of course, I'm not sure where you're watching us right now, but you can always watch us as we premiere on YouTube. And then, of course, you can watch us anytime on demand, as we'll be available on Facebook as well. And again, we're going to try to get AC Mac sometime in the next couple of weeks to be right here on this podcast.
So,
he's a world champ.
He's a busy guy.
He's busy. He's now a top 25 guy on the top 500 list, top 10 currently. So he's a busy man, but we'll try and nail him down, see if we can get him to pop up on the show here. So anywho, that's going to wrap us up for this week. We will see you next time. But until then, this has been
SHW.
This is our wrestling.
That's right.